How's it going, everybody? So in today's video, I'm going to be doing a trade recap of the trades that I took today. It's Wednesday, July 28th. I took 3 trades within the first 25 minutes. 2 of them were all right. 1 of them was really bad, and I ended up the day down $789. And if you look at the thumbnail and you see the ticker FLGC, that is a name that I do not normally trade. This actually came to my attention through Benzinga Charlie on Thinkorswim. Every now and then, it's very rare, but I will look at something if he brings it up. It said that it got halted, and similar to the trade that I took on CARV a little bit ago, I made a decent amount of money on that trade. I tried a similar trade on this. The entry was horrible, and I happened to lose. So this is telling me that these are very risky. I'm glad that the carve trade worked, but being that this didn't, I know that from here on out, I'm so much better just listening to the game plan, focusing on the main stocks that are on watch, and not listen to all the noise. And this also shows that I'm human, right? I make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. There's no such thing as a perfect trader. I just want to make sure that when I make stupid decisions like I did today, I don't let things get too bad. It happens every now and then. We're all human. We make mistakes when it comes to trading stocks. This is a very difficult thing to do, so it's hard to be perfect. The most important factor is learning from that mistake and then trying to not do it again. So getting into the main watch list, I was looking at Tesla, Facebook, Microsoft, Boeing, and AMD. Okay, so now to get into the technicals of the overall market and then get into the technicals of the watch list, starting with SPY. So I had a pullback day yesterday, which was needed. It's healthy for the market to come in, especially after numerous green days in a row. Stopped right at the 9 EMA, the levels that I was looking at. Prior day's high, also knowing that all-time high was above, and if there was any weakness in the market, just knowing where prior day low was. And now the Qs, which had a little bit more of an aggressive pullback than the SPY, but it stopped right at the 20 SMA, closed just above the 9 EMA, the levels I was watching. Prior day's high, also knowing all-time high was above at 368.89 and prior day's low at 360.16. And now Tesla, which is still in a range on the daily chart in between a lot of the moving averages, just not very clean. But the levels I was looking at, prior day's high, 666.50, prior day's low, 627.24, pre-market low, 642.20, and pre-market high, 648.22. And now Facebook, and the reason why I like this is because the daily still looks good even after this pullback day. It had the gap up this morning. That looks like a nice flag pattern. Held the gap up on the 23rd, trading close to all-time high. If it makes a new all-time high, I think that that could be a good setup. So the levels that I was watching was prior day's high, which was 373.15, prior day's low, 364.55, pre-market high at 375.50, and pre-market low at 372.65. And now Microsoft, and the reason why I like this is because it's still a strong daily chart. It had elevated volume because of earnings, so I felt like it was worth having on watch. The levels that I was looking at, pre-market high, 291.85. The all-time high level, which it was trading just slightly above in the pre-market, 289.99. Pre-market low, 287.02. And prior day's low, 282.95. And now Boeing, and the reason I like this is because of earnings. It had a big gap up, was trading a lot higher in the pre-market. I wanted to be careful because I've noticed in the current market, chasing strength, you can get in trouble, but just knowing that it was elevated volume. So really the main upside level that I was looking at was pre-market high, 235.89, but also knowing where the 50 SMA was on the daily, which was just above. And now AMD, and the reason why I like this is because of earnings. It's not a name that I look at every single day, but when it has elevated volume, I think it's worth having on watch. And also knowing that it had the gap up in the pre-market and it was trading towards the high of this big red pullback candle. So the levels that I was looking at, prior day's high, 94.10, pre-market high, 93.96, pre-market low, 91.78, and prior day's low, 89.10. Okay, so now let's get into the first trade, which is actually going to be on Facebook to the downside. So I really wanted to take the all-time high trade on this, but as you can see off the open, it just went straight up. It could not hold that move, and it started to give all of it back. So it got back below the 9 EMA and back below VWAP. It's breaking low of day. I would think if there's anybody long just from a shorter term perspective, when it breaks that low of day, that's probably going to be where a lot of people stop out. So I ended up going short. I took 5 of the 372.50 puts and I got filled at $8.77. So even though I was looking for Facebook to form a flag pattern towards the highs, this shows that trading requires being really open-minded, right? Just because you want something to happen doesn't mean it's going to. And then it's all about reacting to price action and technical level. So when that quickly came back in, That was a sign that it was showing weakness and I thought it was worth the short. So now I'm still in the trade and I just want to see, can this go a little bit further, but also realizing that it's starting to get a little extended. So 3 1-minute candles in a row. That's a very nice move into 372. I just want to see how it reacts to the whole number. Breaks the whole number, starting to speed up. I got a pretty nice move in my favor at this point, so I know that when it starts to show a little struggle, I need to just take profits. So that was a nice move, and as it starts to come in a little bit more, I end up just getting out of the position because you never know when it's going to bounce, and I took profits right there, and I got out of those contracts at $9.25. Okay, now getting into the second trade, which is going to be Tesla to the short side. And there were some nice flag patterns before it got to this 640, so I was chasing it a little bit. I think that's the reason that it didn't work, especially being that Tesla is in a range. You got to be really quick with these entries and exits. Otherwise, if you get caught towards the highs and the lows, that's where it can go against you. That's what happened here. So I ended up going short at that flag pattern, 640 whole number. It looked like there was a little bit more downside room. Also seeing that the SPY and the Qs were weak, I wanted to take it for a scalp. I ended up going short and I got filled at $10.10 on the contracts. I'm in the 640 puts and I only took 3 of them. So I made sure to size down a little bit, especially being that Tesla's a little choppier lately and I didn't want to get caught if it started to bounce. I didn't want the loss to be too big, but I thought it was worth the risk. So now I'm just looking at 640 and I want to see this break. When Tesla breaks, it breaks quick. When it starts to hesitate, that's when I already think in my mind that maybe this is going to start to go the other way. And that's exactly what happened. So when this bounced off 640, came into 642, I just bailed on it to be safe and I got out of those contracts at $9.25. It sucked to take the loss, especially after the first trade being a decent winner, but I feel like I did a good job at getting out when it didn't go in my favor quickly. Okay, now getting into the FLGC trade. The reason why I like this, it all starts with the daily chart. So the high was $6, nice even number. It pulled in, finally found some support, long period of consolidation. And I thought that if it got over 6, especially being that the prior day was a red candle and we were trading above it, it felt like it had a chance to catch some momentum. Okay, now to just highlight kind of where I am. So 20 minutes into the day, I've taken a trade on Facebook that was a decent win. I gave those gains back on the Tesla loss. So it shows there's such a fine line. I was green and I let green go to red. And here's an example of being down very small on the day and then letting small red get worse. Okay, so now the third trade, which is on FLGC. So what happened is this unhalted because it was in a halt, knowing that 6 was that major level. My entry was terrible. If I was better, I should have been able to buy that dip right there closer to 6, knowing that right around 6 was my risk area. I happened to chase because I got a little bit of FOMO, thinking that this was going to go to 7, maybe it goes to 8 if this really starts to squeeze. Who knows? It could be a nice winner. So I ended up chasing it, getting long 1,000 shares, and I got filled at 655, so I almost top ticked that candle. So that entry was really bad, and because of that, it pulled back very fast, and I had a bit of deer in headlights moment. I should have got out when this broke under 6, so it came in, it bounced back above VWAP. I thought maybe there was a chance this could get going again, but now it's consolidating under VWAP, under the 9 EMA, and I know that if it loses that prior low right around 580, I just need to be out of this. So it's not looking great, and the moment this starts to pull in right here, I end up just bailing on the position, and I got out at $5.77. So I took the risk. It clearly didn't work out. Had I got out right around 6, it still would have been a loser, but not as big because it pulled in so aggressively, and I was a little too patient with it, gave it a few more minutes than I should have. It ended up costing me about another 20 cents. Okay, so now let's get into the P&L. I ended up making $240 on my first trade off the open on Facebook to the downside, lost $255 on the Tesla short, and then the disaster trade of the day, FLGC, ended up losing $774 to be down $789. So that was the trade recap. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. I just want to highlight a couple really cool things that I have to offer. The first is my newsletter watch list that I'm going to be posting on my private Twitter 30 minutes before the open of each trading day. Here's an example of what that's going to look like. So I'm going to do a quick overview of the market, the SPY, the Qs, the upside levels, the downside levels, and then a sentence or two as to the overall bigger picture. Make sure to highlight any market news or events that are happening that day. And then I'm going to list the 4 to 6 stocks that I'm watching that day. If there's any company specific news, all the upside levels and the downside levels, and then do a quick bigger picture, a couple sentences as to what's going on in the daily chart. This is everything that's in my head prior to market open. This is how I prepare, and a really easy way to get access to my trading process. One page with everything I'm looking at, all the technical levels, and all the news delivered 30 minutes before market open in a really organized fashion. Also, I have a call service, so if you want something that's a little bit less of a commitment, you want to connect with me directly, talk about my trading, my journey along the way, and just connect with another trader, this is really great. And this can be a video call or a regular call, whatever you're comfortable with. It's a one-time fee, and it's going to be for 1 hour. So if you're interested in either one of these, I will put the links in the description below.